things vlogging, and we have a very special guest joining us. Please make him feel welcome, Mr. Ed Britton! Woo!
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here at my very well-known show.
Very well known.
Very well known. First and foremost, Mr. Britton, you have been vlogging now for almost 12 months, is that correct?
That's right, yes. So I've done 50 videos so far.
Why vlogging?
Why vlogging?
Yeah, why not like podcasting?
Well, so I wanted to make something creative. Since I would be doing things solo, I figured that a camera allowed me to create visuals without necessarily having to be in shot, without having to have any dialogue, without necessarily even having to have a story. They could just be images that were artistic and worth looking at. There aren't many audio maybe the sound of rain on an umbrella or in a tent.
When it came to starting this whole process of vlogging, what kind of gear did you start with and what gear do you have now?
Pretty much the same gear all the way through. I actually started with just the GoPro. So my very first video was the paddleboarding video.
Yes.
Obviously things were getting wet there, so we were in the ocean and stuff. I think I actually struggled to remember, I may have used my phone for a couple of cut-in shots. So I was filming stuff as it happened and then later on trying to figure out how to make a vlog about that. But other than that, it was pretty much just the GoPro all the way through. And then very quickly afterwards, so Japan, we had the iPhone on us.
Yes.
As well as a GoPro. So I had two cameras there, and the iPhone was the 11 Pro.
Yeah.
Looks quite nice as far as phone cameras go. It's pretty good. And then I was editing everything on that phone as well.
Oh, so you're editing purely on your phone?
Purely on the phone. I don't own outright a Mac. I share one with someone.
Okay.
And it was just much easier to have.
Did you have any particular editing software or programs?
Yeah, so I was using LumaFusion. So I could have done iMovie, but iMovie didn't give me enough options for frame rate choice. And yeah, so that's what I've been using the whole way through. Just the iPhone, filming on the iPhone, editing on the iPhone, and when the GoPro gets involved, then it gets more complicated. Not necessarily in a good way, but having the extra shots is useful, and having a definitely waterproof. And now I've actually got a 12, so I've got the 12 mini, the iPhone 12 mini, because I think that phones are too big. I miss the smaller iPhones. Perhaps not as good as the 11 Pro.
Because you have the 3 lenses, I think this one only has 2 lenses?
Yes, and one ends in mini, one ends in Pro, so I'm sure that means something.
Yes.
I'm hoping instead to get a real camera, a bigger camera with a bigger lens.
Yeah.
Instead.
Over the last year, you've been developing various ideas, and every week having to come up with new things to film or talk about or discuss or view. How do you turn an idea into an actual video?
With great difficulty, I think. It can be a struggle sometimes. The thinking of the idea can be just stifling, like any writer's block of any kind. Because in the vlog I considered myself to be a character in these short films, it had to be me, and it had to be an honest voice, whether it's acted up at all, it sort of has to play as if it's really me.
Yes.
And I think in all my videos it is really me. And also ideally it should be something I've genuinely done in that week.
Yes.
Sometimes I'd have to, like, I'd be halfway through, I was halfway through the kombucha when I realised I should have been filming it. So I had to go back and film bits that I'd already done. I mean, I'd made the kombucha, I drank the kombucha, I enjoyed the kombucha. I just forgot to share it. So I did have to kind of add to that. For me, I had some ground rules of, if I'm going somewhere, talk to the camera and say where you're going.
Okay.
What do you plan to do when you get there? Are there any things that could get in your way, that could hinder your... So just good storytelling. Like the cat climbs up the branch further and further away from you. I don't think people think about it necessarily when they go out to buy, say, a couch. They don't go, I'm going to IKEA to buy a couch. I hope they've got it in stock, or I hope they've got it in my colour, or I hope that we've the traffic's okay. Or
Like
I
the
hope,
obstacle.
yeah, so I would try and think of the obstacle that was coming up.
Yeah.
And then when you do get there on time, you get to go, we made it on time. Often something will happen, a curveball will come up, and you're like, it's delayed, thank goodness, because we only just arrived, and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Just kind of finding the story in the everyday, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for me it was. I was
Yeah.
desperately trying to discover story wherever possible. So Casey Neistat, who is the vlogger on YouTube, he tries to tell a story as much as possible, and there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. There's a set up, a conflict, a resolution, and that he doesn't always nail that. He says so himself that he doesn't always get that to happen, but they're always the most enjoyable videos, the ones that have that sense.
When it came to starting the vlog and when it came to actually doing the research or whatever you needed to do to get this rolling, did you turn to any other particular vloggers for inspiration?
There were probably two in particular that I most paid attention to. So there's Casey Neistat and Matt Diavella.
Okay, yeah.
And so I learned, I was on YouTube constantly finding out about how cameras work, which sounds basic, but I was going from nothing.
Oh, so you don't have any experience previously in film?
Not in actually making stuff.
Okay.
So being a one-man band, I was drawn to Casey Neistat and drawn to Matt Diavella as styles that I enjoyed, and it was unfortunately beneficial in a weird way because they're both filmmakers. So
okay.
before they got into YouTube video making,
Yeah.
Casey Neistat had made a film or two and worked professionally making films and adverts, and Matt Diavella documentary filmmaking and other stuff. So they are experienced filmmakers with equipment, knowing what they're doing, creating visually stunning and often narratively great videos. And so I was comparing myself to them, which was a tall order, and I not anywhere near their level, but it meant that I was a little harsher on myself perhaps than I could have been, considering it's my first year.
Yeah. I do actually, in thinking about the various vlogs you've had, there's some in there that I can really see a distinct, perhaps, maybe like a Casey Neistat feel, or even a Matt Diavella feel as well. Actually, even like a Binging with Babish kind of style.
Oh, yes.
Too.
Yeah. So obviously he's not a vlogger, he's a YouTube chef. I did, so the okonomiyaki video that I did pays homage to Binging with Babish. I was making okonomiyaki that week anyway.
Okay.
Making for the family, and I'm a big fan of okonomiyaki, have had it for many years, and I just wanted to sort of share. I needed to make a video for the week, so I wanted to share the cooking process, and that was quite fun to do.
I think it was the beer brewing one, and I counted 49 shots.
Yeah, that sounds
or
right.
something, which was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I have, in knowing Casey Neistat, there's usually he kind of starts with something where there's a little bit of silence, there's not actually much going on dialogue wise, and there's kind of shot after shot after shot. Is that what you were trying to create with that video?
I was trying to, I sort of sat down and watched some of Casey's more recent vlogs that he's done since he's in LA, and I counted something like 20 shots, just establishing 20 shots.
Whoa.
To introduce where we are, what the environment is, what time of day is it clean or messy, what do we know about this space, before he then starts talking, and that's 20 seconds before he starts saying anything, and you know,
that's just all set up.
yeah, it's all set up. So I thought it would be fun to try and replicate that by having as many establishing shots as possible that lean us into where we are before I start actually talking. So with the homebrew one, I did that kind of, the homebrew one needed that anyway, because there are lots of individual steps to homebrewing, and I wanted to take a complicated process and boil it down into I think it ended up being 7 minutes, and that was a 5-hour boil. Not 5-hour boil. There was a 5-hour brew, 5-hour day.
Yeah.
And I managed to squeeze it down into just 7 minutes.
Holy moly!
So I needed to know shot after shot after shot after shot.
Definitely, it's a bit of planning in place.
Oh yes, a bit. Yes, that would be my takeaway to to myself and to anyone thinking of making videos, nothing beats a plan.
Okay.
You can have a vague idea and rock up with your camera and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Nothing will ever outdo knowing exactly what shot you want and just laying it out. It means that when you go through your shot list, you don't miss anything. If you've got 50 shots that you want to get and you can't do 3 of them, then it doesn't make you go, oh, I've got nothing.
Yeah.
You know how much remaining you've got. It lets you sort of navigate and change course much easier if you know what you're trying to get.
Okay.
And then of course, like if you have a definite image of the shot that you want, you can replicate it as close as possible, and you know where it's wrong. You know, that's out of place. That's out of place. And you're also less likely to get continuity errors.
In this, I guess maybe I could call it an experiment of vlogging. Do you feel as though you've kind of started to find your own style?
There are definitely things that I'm leaning towards. There's things I prefer. I think visually, it's been quite serendipitous for me. So visually, the things I enjoy watching in other videos and in my own lends itself well to being the person with the camera and on the camera. So because it's a one-man show, in most cases, I have to leave the camera somewhere.
Right.
I have to lock it off on a tripod or on a shelf or wherever.
Yes.
I have to. It's not moving.
Yes.
I don't have extra equipment that lets me dolly in and move around. I
You're
would
just
love
using your phones and your GoPros.
Yeah. So it would be lovely to have a rig where I can automate the camera panning around and doing all these things, but they're expensive and I don't have money. So instead I have to rely on a locked off shot, and I actually quite like that style. There's kind of a classic 60s and 70s, almost Bond style to that, where we've got the background has been set and the person is in the frame where you want them and all these things. So every single shot I want it to be a piece of art. I don't know that I do a very good job of that, but that's what I want.
Right.
And so having a locked off shot means that it does that well. So I think that I'm sort of finding my style. I'm certainly not aiming for a Wes Anderson at this point.
Well, you can definitely identify Wes Anderson film when you watch it.
Yeah, my house isn't symmetrical enough to do Wes Anderson stuff.
What would be then, in your opinion, the hardest thing about vlogging?
For me, it was coming up with ideas, but that might be partially because there was a pandemic on.
That would have been quite stifling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If all you're doing in the week is sitting at the computer,
yeah, waiting.
I mean, you can make a compelling video out of that once.
Yeah.
But every week it won't really work. So there was a sense for me of desperately needing to make something worth showing before Friday.
Yeah.
I at least feel like I've done 50 things this year.
Okay, so maybe perhaps idea generation being the most trickiest thing, particularly when you're being thrown into a pandemic at the same time.
Yes, and considering that I am the protagonist of my videos, I'm not creating any fiction.
Yeah. I mean, you occasionally have co-stars.
That's true. But in most cases, the thing has happened to me in that week. And when I learnt to skateboard, I did want to buy a skateboard and I did want to learn how to skateboard. I haven't been able to continue that throughout the pandemic.
Obviously, yeah.
And also, it's weird watching a fully grown man with a moustache trying to learn how to skateboard. Those things have happened. I could come up with an idea for a complete fiction within the remit of all you have is a phone and yourself.
What can you do with it?
What story can you tell?
Yeah, that's kind of fun. And then also it makes you, I guess, stay on your toes the entire time as well. Because you're trying to figure out what you're going to be filming, what's going to be happening.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I was on my toes or on the back foot. Either way, appendages were involved.
Because you're self-taught, you've just been doing your own research before.
Yeah, I put myself in a classroom and stood at the front of the class and sat down and I taught myself.
Did both things.
Did both.
Wow.
I fumbled in the dark until I found something I was good at.
Nice way of thinking about it.
Yeah, it could have gone terribly though.
Like, how long did it take you to do your first couple of videos. We had the paddleboarding one, we had the Japan ones.
Yeah, it's 2 Japan.
We had the 2 Japan ones, and then like in the last week, last one was the Christmas tree one.
Yes.
In comparison, how long does it take you from 50 weeks ago, from videoing, editing, and submitting
The whole lot, yeah, the workflow.
to now?
So the very first one being the paddleboarding happened before Christmas.
Okay.
In fact,
yeah.
so did Japan. Japan happened before Christmas, and then I put those 3 videos out in the first 3 weeks of 2020. That belies how long it took. So
Right.
to get the paddleboarding footage together took me weeks.
Ah.
I mean, not the actual footage. Our friends were up for the weekend or
Yeah.
the week or however long it was, collecting the clips, figuring out how to deal with them, figuring out the narrative, editing it all together, learning that editing suite. That took me a few weeks, and then Japan took probably even longer, but that was because there was so much more footage. Luckily in Japan, I was using that rule of thumb of where are you going, what are you doing, are you at a restaurant?
Yeah.
Take an establishing shot of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Had I not done that, I think Japan wouldn't have had much to show for it. But because I was trying to stick to the rules, I would talk to camera and say we just went to the restaurant.
Okay.
And then we'd have an establishing shot of the restaurant because I'd spent the time thinking about what shots can I get. But then I had so much footage
Yeah.
that, again,
And
that took
condensing
me
it.
quite a long time. Whereas the Christmas tree one, the act of making the Christmas tree took me a few hours. And then I just cut out the bits that didn't work, and that took me another few hours, and I was able to put it online. So
Wow.
I can turn an idea around in a day if I've got everything I need. So I knew I wanted to make the Christmas tree, and I was thinking, how can I? And I decided a hula hoop, and using our existing floor lamp, and sort of had in my mind how that would work.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't find a hula hoop. So the only thing that slowed that down was finding a hula hoop.
Finding a hula hoop.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a massive progression in that time.
Yes. And like people say that these things are a steep learning curve, they're actually a shallow learning curve. Because it's taken me 50 weeks to get to this point. It's slow and steady and painful the whole way.
Yeah.
It's one of those slopes where it's just enough that you're annoyed by it. If it was a steep learning curve, it would be really hard for 10 minutes and then you'd be great.
Over the time that you've been playing with film and getting inspiration from the other vloggers and from like film directors, like you're saying, Wes Anderson and things like that. In thinking about your own vlogs, do you have a particular like favorite video or a favorite shot that you're like, I love creating this look, or I love creating this style?
I love in-camera transitions.
Okay.
Partially because with things like a GoPro and a phone, you can get into really odd spots. So it's one of the things I dislike about having a small camera is you can end up doing impossible movements far too quickly, and that it doesn't look, in my opinion, as nice. The hand shaky kind of and seeing as I like locked off shots with wide framing and all these things, having a handheld that kind of wobbles into something puts me off a little. But on the other side of that, you can, with these small cameras, get them into do a transition that you wouldn't be able to do. So it was one of the cooking ones in a kitchen. I transition closing a drawer, and then the camera follows the drawer and carries on past the drawer over the countertop, and then suddenly you realise you're not going over the countertop anymore, you're coming up in front of the kitchen.
Oh, that reminds me of another in-camera transition then. In the Adelaide video where you're at the tech desk and you've gone, there's something like that.
That's pretty much the same transition, and I really love that transition where we've gone from the stage, seeing everyone set up, we pan up to the black ceiling, and then actually we carry on panning up, and we reveal we're not at the black ceiling at all, we're in front of the black panel where the tech guy is, which is me for that show, and then we sort of appear there, and I that transition, that smooth transition from, it's like, I think we're calling it the elevator transition.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
I
like
don't
that.
know whether that already exists as a name.
Claiming it.
That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to just be upwards, as in the case of the sandwich one. The drawer closes that way, and then we carry on that way. So
yeah, I'd love you to talk through one of these transitions that I was amazed at, which is the one which I believe is the Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
Where you're starting up some stairs, and then suddenly you are going downstairs, and then you're opening a door and going outside, but you're the only person. You're Dick Van Dyke.
Who's the only person in the house at the time?
Oh, okay. So you're flat besides the dog.
No, the dog had left. The magic of movie making.
Movie
So
magic.
the dog barked. That sounds like the beginning of a story. So the dog started barking because the mailman had arrived with the Switch. I was able to poke my head out the window and see that it was indeed the mailman, and my phone was near enough that I could pick it up and watch him come towards the door. After that point, I had enough time to think through the shots I want.
Yes.
In the moment of following the mailman, I had panned in front of the white window frame and around the white wall, and so had created the perfect opportunity for a transition. And then later on, after everyone had left the house and the dog was out on a walk with someone, I assume, to do whatever filming I needed. And so yeah, we go from window across window frame and wall to white, and then the transition to the stairs, coming off the white wall down to the stairs, I had actually put my phone into a tripod. I say tripod, it's a monopod. It's a selfie stick with a 3-prong at the bottom.
Okay.
That's all I've got to work with. So it's not very stable, but I continue the transition off the white wall, down the stairs, towards the front door, and as gently as possible place the camera down, knowing how wobbly it can be as well. I had to place it down so that it had the door handle in shot, and move through it quick enough to open the door, walk out and pick up the package, as if there was a cameraman
Doing
that wasn't me. But the whole way through it was me. I was surprised that I got it in the first go.
Oh yeah?
I was expecting massive wobble. I was expecting to be off by a massive angle. I go to open the door and I was looking at my feet or something. So I was pleased at how that one went out.
I have a couple of questions for you, but I would like to take a very quick commercial break, and then we can pop back and finish off our little interview. We'll be back after this quick commercial break. Welcome back to Jen's Coffee Corner. I'm your host, Jen, and we're talking to the wonderful Ed Britton, talking all things vlogging. He's been vlogging for almost a year now, 50 videos, weekly vlogs.
Although it is 2020, so that could be 7 years. It's hard to tell.
I mean, March lasted about 300 days as it was anyway. Couple of questions for you. Firstly, this might be a bit of a funny one, but we'll see how we go. Making videos where you are the one-man band, as we've said. So you are filming, you're storyboarding, you're doing everything yourself. And you're also, I guess, the star of the videos too, I guess you could say. This might have the potential risk of appearing narcissistic. Do you feel that there's a benefit to this risk, or what's your feelings on...
What's my feelings on that? I don't think it's any more narcissistic than having a faux interview with your girlfriend, asking all about it, really. It is.
What are you talking about? This is legit.
This is a legit interview with Jen's Coffee Corner. Nothing contrived about it.
Nothing contrived. I have a million subscribers.
Yes, I think you're right. Like, I think there is a certain narcissism to the fact that I am on camera. I was making these videos to learn the skill, and having the stakes high by putting it out online meant that I would work harder, and also it meant that I had the weekly deadline, and so I had to make...
So it wasn't about just posting your breakfast?
No, I think I'm hoping that my videos are slightly more interesting than someone's Eggs Benedict. I'm sure it's fascinating how perfectly poached an egg is.
So it's okay. So it's more so about the actual skill involved to help you.
For me, it's the skill, and hopefully for other people, they can appreciate the quality of the work. But ideally, it should just be entertainment.
Right.
So watching me learn to skateboard should be more interesting than just, yeah, Ed learned to skateboard, isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can portray the act in an interesting enough way. With the homebrewing, we know what the goal is. The goal is a beer. We go through the journey to get there. Because it's factual, I go step by step by step by step by step, giving the information, and we go through it, and hopefully it's visually entertaining as well as informatively entertaining. And there is no moment during that homebrew one that I go, hey, I can homebrew, check me out.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to brag, or I'm not trying to brag, whichever way around that makes more sense.
Yes.
You're right, there is an element of narcissism because I have to be on camera and because it's my body of work, but it's also a portfolio of my work. So I'm keen to be doing this more often professionally.
Okay.
And the easiest way to do things professionally is to either make the work yourself or to at least have something to show before you join someone else's group. I was able to make videos that didn't require anyone else.
Flying solo.
Yeah.
Going solo.
Yeah, and I hope that at the end of it, these 52 videos by the end of the year will give someone an idea of the kind of filming I can do, the kind of cinematography I can make, the kind of editing I can do, the kind of acting I can do, the kind like my technical skill, as well as a little bit of my personality. I can then use that as a resume, and in many regards, I think that 52 videos vlogging of me is as arrogant and narcissistic as putting your name at the top of a resume.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you put your own name at the top of a resume because it's about
it's your resume.
you. Now there's a limit to how big you should make that.
Giant.
Yeah, if you make it giant, then that's running the
Bold,
risk of looking...
underline.
Well, definitely bold. So I think that having my vlogs is the equivalent of my name at the top of a resume.
Right.
And then you get to look at the quality of those videos if you are interested in the resume.
Yeah.
You can go to them and go, oh yes, I see how he edits, I see his style, I see his eye for direction.
And that's a great way to show off a portfolio is having this.
A living, working resume.
Yeah, a little link to your YouTube channel.
And if I had professional videos under my belt, then I would be showing them on my scissor reel or whatever, but I don't, so I have to show my amateur videos.
Which still, I cannot edit like you. You have a real, you have like a natural eye for it, and I'm a little bit envious, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I mean, you've done it all on your own.
Thank you. Yes.
I paid for it.
Okay. Well, yes. Thank you. So I think there may be a certain element of instinct for certain things. So I don't like things running too long. I have a sense of rhythm to my shots. So even before I put in the music for my videos, I will have sort of counted in my head how long a clip is, and then I cut it, how long a clip is, and then I cut it. And sometimes when I put the music in, once I've lined up the music to the first beat, it actually matches the rest.
Amazing.
Because the music has matched the kind of rhythm in my mind.
Yes.
So it's possible that's what you're seeing in my editing is my sense of internal rhythm.
Yeah.
And sometimes that comes across as impatience. There's a Casey Neistat cut where he's in the middle of telling us something, and we already know what he's talking about. We know the end of the sentence. It doesn't really matter that he finishes it, and he'll cut it.
Oh, I've seen you do that.
And I've started doing that and often that's actually where I start to become too self-indulgent. It's where I start saying, oh, I did this, and then I did that, and then I did, me, my eggs Benedict, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as I start going in that direction, I'm like, this is not useful information. This doesn't drive the video forward.
Drive the story. That's fun. That's kind of fun though. Like as a viewer, it's quite enjoyable to see that kind of shot.
Yeah, and also the break in rhythm. So in stand-up comedy and comedy in general, we tend to have us going in an expectation. There's a direction we think we're going.
Yeah. And
then undermining that by going the other direction. Whatever. So the expectation, like when Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti, we have a sense of what the next one will be.
Yes.
And when our expectations are undermined, that quite often creates a laugh.
Yes. I understand.
So we expect a certain rhythm, and then that gets cut short, and that can be very funny. And yeah, you start a sentence, you expect it to finish.
Yes, you do.
And then when it doesn't, that's very surprising.
I actually really quite enjoy that. I'm going to look out for that even more now, I think. Okay, I have one final question for you.
Okay.
50 weeks of videos. 52 is the goal.
That's how many weeks maybe in this year?
Can we expect another 52, 53 videos next year?
God, no.
No?
No. I'm very tired now
Okay.
of the videos.
You don't love it anymore?
It's so on the equipment that I have, I can achieve something. It's not as easy as I would like it to be.
Okay.
And I think now where I need to learn some things, and I'm going to have to go off vlog and onto scripted stuff.
Okay, your own?
Yes. Well, yeah, I don't have anyone else I am writing with at the moment, but if I can create some fiction, be it sketch or short film or horror,
cool.
or, like whatever it is, I'm going to concentrate on upskilling my story and then picking a style to play that story in, and maybe spending a bit more time on each video. So I think at the moment I'm considering putting out 12 videos next year.
Ooh.
One for each month rather than one for each week.
Okay, so not weekly vlogs, but with the focus on your own short films and sketches and scripts.
Yeah, a little less, concentrating less on me, a little more on others.
Yes.
And those others being fictional, invented characters rather than having to be real life.
That sounds really exciting. I would definitely maintain my subscription.
You should.
Can you give us any hints towards your final video of the year?
Final video. I don't really know what it's going to be.
Okay.
Because that week hasn't happened yet.
True.
Who knows what the future will bring? I mean,
Yeah.
This year's thrown us a curveball.
Yeah.
I do have a vague idea of what could happen, providing everything pans out on time as we hope.
Okay.
Then I have a video in mind. If things don't go the way that we plan, then I don't have anything. It would just be like a montage.
Well, Mr. Britton, it has been wonderful having you here on the couch at
Absolute
Jen's
pleasure.
Coffee Corner. Thank you for being here and
you.
for talking through vlogging. Make sure you subscribe to Ed Britton. I don't actually have a Jen's Coffee Corner. I know, I should make it happen. But subscribe to Ed Britton and make sure you check out his videos. They are a lot of fun. I really enjoyed them, but I've also gotten to be part of the process for the past 12 months as well. So thank you, Mr. Britton, for joining me here.
Thank you.
No. Oh.
That's quite a distance to kiss me.
I don't usually kiss my guests. Only you.
Liar.